Welcome back. This is part 2 of Relational Capital with Michael Larson. We hope you enjoy it. This is the Arable Leader podcast. I'm Karl Martin, and we're exploring true, brave, kind, curious leadership, leading from your soul.
A lot of our conversation up until now has been kind of what to do and the importance of it. We're trying to persuade you that this is valuable or whatever. Yeah. But there's another side to it that's almost how it's done. And this idea, we've talked a lot about this, and it's out there a lot, this idea of unreasonable hospitality. Yeah. And I think at first, we kind of, in corporate America, we can bristle at that because it seems like, well, that's just not, that doesn't have a place in my corporate environment. But actually, I think we think that it can be a competitive advantage, that it's actually something that can separate us and make us better. So just speak to that a little bit. How do you feel like unreasonable hospitality can be a competitive advantage?
Yeah, well, I think it probably is going to end up being the only competitive advantage, which sounds like a big statement. You know, if the corporate world is perceptibly and imperceptibly moving towards service industries, it's moving away from manufacturing, it's moving towards service. If it's true that 3/4 of the American economy is a service industry, then what makes you stand out from the crowd? Serving someone is just table stakes. You know, I was saying this to a guy today, you know, your ability to serve the person in front of you is just what gets you in the door. It's table stakes. Everyone's doing it, everyone's doing it, everyone's doing it. Your ability to show them unreasonable hospitality or extraordinary hospitality or extraordinary personalized care, your ability to take people beyond the table stakes into the all-in arena of service is the thing that will make you stand out. You know, we've just been doing some work for an organization where we wanted to bless the people that we had served, and we wanted to go above and beyond. It's really easy to send people a bunch of flowers. It's good to do. It's the right thing to do. It's really easy to write a card. It's a good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's difficult and challenging to say, that person, what kind of gift or kind of affirmation would be particular to that person that would make their lights go on, that would make them feel excited, that would make them feel honored, that make them feel seen, heard, and understood. And so I would not give something that cost me nothing. So, you know, I don't give of my time flippantly, I give of my time intentionally. And I think it's those kind of things that make you stand out as an organization. You actually care, you actually see people, you actually go above and beyond and say, that person needs this attention from me. And that's what will make you stand out. And that's what will get you repeat orders, if we're being really crass. That's what will give you a better return on investment. That's what will get you gossiped about, and people will say, hey, you need to work with Arable because they do this, this, and this. Service is table stakes. Hospitality is all in. It's what will make you stand out. And it's more and more and more important. You know, I have this conversation with my kids, you know. When I was growing up, like 20% of people had a university degree. So going to university and getting a degree and getting, a master's made you stand out from the crowd. Now, everyone's got a degree. So what makes you stand out? Your ability to go above and beyond that and show that not only so degree is the table stakes. Your experience in life, your ability to handle people, your ability to articulate yourself, that becomes the unique contribution that you have to share. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I think unreasonable hospitality or something like that, whatever your expression of going above and beyond, whatever your expression of personalizing the situation becomes your unique selling point.
So even just to tease that out a little bit more, because I think we probably make some assumptions around what does unreasonable hospitality actually mean. But if we're talking about that within leadership, within workplace culture, maybe even giving a few specifics if you can, what does that look like?
It looks like recognizing that every person in your team is an individual, although they're part of the team, and they are unique. They have unique needs. They need to show up and work, and they need to put in a full day's work, but they might need to show up at different times in different ways. It means understanding that I have 2 members of my team that have brand new babies. So I'm going to make allowances for that. More than just allowances, I'm going to honor that. Those babies become part of our team and part of the conversation. It means that when someone has gone above and beyond over a period of time and busted the gut, you give them time off above and beyond what's contracted. It means that when we want to bless people, we bless people very specifically with things that are going to be a blessing. There's no point in giving me something that I'm not interested in. So I think it's that, and above anything else, it's just, I think the question I ask all the time is, what does it mean to give that person my attention? Giving Michael my attention is different than giving Emily my attention, because of the way Emily is wired and because of the way Michael is wired. And so what does that mean so that he feels like the hero, he feels like the star, he feels honored, he feels respected, and therefore when he thinks about working for Arable, he wants to give his best, not because of what I pay him, but because of how he is made to feel. When I was being taught how to speak in public, someone said to me, look, the big question is not how do you feel about yourself, even though lots of people are insecure when they're standing on stage. The big question is not how do you feel about them, even though you feel like, will they like me or will they not like me? The big question is this: how do you leave them feeling about themselves when you're in the space? In other words, what is it about you that enables or disables them in their self-esteem, their self-awareness, their ability to feel good about themselves and what they're doing? And I think that's great relational leadership. How do I make you feel about yourself and what you're doing?
Yeah, I love the kind of the attention, the combination of the attention and intention. And being specific.
That's good.
Being specific. I'm just repeating back to you what you said to me.
I'm not sure I did. I think you said it better.
But what a specific example popped in my mind. I just got a gift from somebody, and it actually, everything in there was very nice, very thought through, and very vanilla, to the point where everything in the box, I actually felt guilty, but I needed to donate it. I wasn't going to put, and it was costly, and they went, they kind of went above and beyond. Yes. But there's that. So they maybe gave me attention, but they didn't say what does this person actually need, want, what's going. And so it in fact had the opposite intended impact, which was kind of made me feel guilty about not loving and keeping and using the stuff that they sent me. And so this kind of led me to think of another example, and without putting you on the spot, but several months ago, I'm talking kind of to the authenticity about internal unreasonable hospitality within a culture, as well as customer service. Because I think our first instinct is, we treat the customer, customer's always right, treat them best, whatever. But authenticity, an authentic demonstration of that, a true demonstration of that, has to happen internally within a culture.
That's right.
And several months ago, you sent us within the team an email and said, pick the gift that you want. And the entire team was blown away. And the reality was, you had been saying, unreasonable hospitality, guys, go do this, give our clients more than they're asking for, more than they expect, more than they think is possible. And yet then you really did say, because this is who we are. So take this gift, and not a gift that I'm going to give you, a gift that you're going to select yourself. Now, I know that's not scalable, and I think some people's fear would be, well, Karl, I can't send a personalized, customized gift to everybody within my organization. So how can leaders practice this idea of unreasonable hospitality without feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm creating this expectations that's unrealistic, I'm going to burn out because I've got to one up every gift. So how can they operate in that tension?
Two or three things. One is going to be quite flippant. Stop giving your people or any of your clients your merch. that puts you and your business as the hero in the story. So every time I receive a T-shirt with, name of the organization that I'm working, I go, great, and it goes in the drawer and never wear it, right? Give people something that's about them, not about you. It's not a subtle marketing tool. I don't want to be given, a mug or a shirt that tells me the name. Anyway, that's a little rant. But what I'm saying is make them the hero. It's about them. And also this doesn't have to cost a lot of money. This is about just thinking through, how can I help this person feel honored, feel seen, feel heard, feel appreciated? And so I would say make your monthly review sessions as much about how can I serve you as how can you serve the company. So in every 3 or 4 questions you should have a question that says, how can the company better serve you in doing what you want to do? How can I show up in a way that helps you become everything that you want to be? What am I not doing that means you're not shining? Make the hero the person in front of you, and then that will give you clues to how you can serve them. A handwritten note is sometimes more powerful than $1,000 gift. I see you. Here's a thought. I think I've said this before on a podcast. Your criticisms are always specific. So make your encouragements specific.
Yeah, that's good.
So, when you get criticized, you get told you didn't do that, you failed there, you screwed up there. And because of the way the brain is wired, we hold all that stuff and we become failures in our mind. So we have to counter that with very specific encouragements. You did this, it blessed these people, it made this difference, it changed our relationship with that client. I thank you for that. Make it very, very specific for people and tell them. If you love someone, tell them. Don't let them guess. Yeah,
it's good. It's so important. You kind of talk about in that this idea of how much is too much, and almost we come at this stuff a lot of times with a scarcity mentality, right? And one thing that has been helpful to me in kind of coaching clients through this, but then also just any events or this unreasonable hospitality mentality that I want to have, is I've told people a lot of times, if you're doing a pizza party, make it the best pizza party ever. You don't have to spend $1,000 a head, but if you're spending $10 a head, think about how that's going to be the best pizza party that people have ever experienced. And so that's going to translate to the way that you invite people into that space. That's going to translate into some of the creativity. It's not always about dollars. In fact, to your point, this really, really nice gift versus something handwritten and something really, really intentional. A lot of the relational capital stuff that we talk about happens around the table. And I wanted to throw one question at you. Just tell us about a great table that you've been at. One that was really memorable, that just you had this real sense of connection and relationship and unreasonable hospitality. And then maybe just what components were a part of that.
Yeah. Well, I can think of many different tables that I've been at. I think of a table in a beautiful house in Utah where I think for the first time in my life I experienced lavish generosity, unfettered giving, where the people that were hosting myself and my family expected nothing from us. Nothing from me, they were just giving. And I don't think I'd ever experienced that before. There was always some kind of weird transaction going on. And so creating a space, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but creating a space where people feel comfortable, where people feel they don't have to give in order to get. It is freely given, it's grace given. So I think of that. I also think of a room where I sat with three friends. And it was one of the conversations that enabled me to start Arable. And the question that I was asked was, what would you attempt if you refused to live afraid? And, some people that would freak out. But for me, it was, gosh, I began to think, what am I trying to prove and to whom? What am I afraid of losing? And why am I afraid of losing it? And what would it actually take to speculate on my dream and go after it? And that was one of the conversations that enabled me to say, I leave behind my old stuff and I take hold of this new thing, even though it is nothing yet. And I take a risk with myself and my family, and I'm even moving continent now to do this thing, because I refuse to live afraid. I want to live out of faith, not fear. And I want my company to live in that way. And it was the whole of the environment that enabled 2 or 3 friends to ask that question of me that made me begin to think, I could be someone different in this world.
One of the questions that somebody sent in was, can you share a time when a simple but powerful question changed the course of a conversation or relationship? And in that story, not just conversation or relationship, but truly your life. I mean that's what's wild about not only the power of questions, but the power of an intentional table, a real intention in valuing relationships and relational capital. So I love that.
Well, one of the things that's and you do this as well, Michael, is we coach really clever, smart, successful leaders. What staggers me is the amount of time that people who should be flying at 10,000 foot and realizing all the potential and the opportunity that's available for them are down in the grass dealing with the minutiae and not seeing the expanse of the possibility that's available for them. And that's why coaching relationships and table conversations are necessary, because it just lifts people's heads.
Yeah.
It says, I staggered talking to someone even yesterday where I said, it's amazing how many people, I'm in my mid-50s. I know I look like mid-30s, but I'm in my sorry, that's funny to me. I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm staggered how many of my contemporaries, quote unquote successful, have very myopic lives. Have very, they've settled for their job, their career, they've got the house, they've paid the mortgage, their kids are now left, and they're on a one-track future, which is not wrong, by the way. For some people, that's just brilliant. But the potential and opportunity beyond that is truly global if we can help people lift their eyes. And the table is one of the ways. Questions are one of the ways to say, hey, you lifting your eyes enough? Do you see the horizon? Can you see the possibilities? What would you attempt if you refused to live afraid? What could be possible for you if you didn't want to prove yourself to anybody? What could be your reality if you decided to take a step, a leap, a jump, and move out of your comfort zone into a growth zone? What could be possible for you? And I think these relational tables are places where you can ask those kind of questions and have those kind of conversations.
Yeah, it's good. If I'm a leader, which I am, everything you say is doable for me as an individual. I can set a table, I can ask the questions, I can be intentional, and I can model that, right? We say that leadership is caught and taught. We push both of those things. So that's the catching side. I can just do this and people can see it.
Yep.
And yet that actually feels maybe like a lot less than needs to happen for me to have an entire culture shift into this focus on connection. So how do you address that? Boy, I feel like even if I'm at the top, I feel like a drop in the bucket for changing a culture into a place where there's intentional connection. How do I begin to turn the tide, not just in individual conversations and lunches with my colleagues or my C-suite or whatever, but really across an entire organization?
Well, I think you need to, if you're going to do this, you need to agree around a philosophical shift in your organization for the most part. And you have to believe that the development of your people, the growth of your people, is the key catalyzing fact that's going to enable your organization to succeed. that actually, although AI is important, and it's really important that we get that, and that although technological advances, all the market share, all that stuff's important, profit is vital, otherwise you don't exist, that actually people over profit, people over product, people is the key factor, the force multiplier in your organization, and therefore the health of people. It will enable the growth of people. And as soon as you begin to believe that, and you put that under the microscope and say, well, what would that look like? It forces you to have conversations around the fact that leadership is soulful, as we say. It comes from a deeper place. It's fractal, in that, what's going on in the senior leader and the C-suite team, and then the management team it will flow out through the whole organization. It's also spatial. It's found in the cave, the road, the table, and the fire, but it is intensely social. It's your relationships that count. It's whether you can read the room. It's whether you can enable people to go from the 50% they're currently giving to the 80% they might give. If you can open the release valves because you see them, you hear them, you honor them, and they feel psychologically safe, therefore they can be stretched. That I believe, and it's still to be proven because lots of people don't try this, but that I believe is going to be the key catalyst in enabling your organization to become everything it might be.
So good. I think one thing that leaders that do this well don't understand, it's become this unconscious competence. I've talked to leaders and I say, how have you established such a culture within your individual team of incredible connection? They say, I don't really know. And I say, okay, break it down. How do you walk into walk into work? How do you walk into the office? What's your day to day? They say, I don't know. I just walk around and then I go ask this person about their weekend. I say, hold on. What do you mean? Well, they knew that person had something big that weekend because they had asked the question the previous week, right?
That's right.
And so it's stepping back, and then it's saying, oh, I made an assumption that everybody knew how to do this.
And I
made an assumption that everyone knew how to ask the right question and see people as people and engage in ways that I as a leader and a person would want to be engaged with. So it really is kind of taking a step back and then saying, this is how this is done.
Totally. Write the blueprint for your organization. Dial back from your unconscious competence. And the truth is what is done. Write the blueprint. I do this. I think this. I see this. I act in this way. It may sound banal, but it's the only way to coach people who we've lost, in many ways, we've lost the art of the table. We've lost the art of the conversation because we're fixed on these things, and we're fixed on a different way of operating. We're fixed on immediacies, and there's so many things that's overtaken the ability to have a great conversation, the ability to ask great questions. And so those who know how to do it need to teach in words of one syllable those who would love to be able to do it, because it will be the force multiplier in their leadership journey.
I love it. Okay, so you just said the art of the table.
Yeah.
So you are an artist of the table. I've seen it. I've been around tables where you've led. Help us bring back the art of the table with a little science. So be prescriptive. If somebody right now is saying, I love what you're talking about, the philosophy of this, I love the heart of it, Karl, I don't know I don't know how to start. Tell me what to do to begin to implement this in my life, in my team, in my organization. Be prescriptive. What would you recommend somebody do from here?
Once a month, invite a table of no more than 8 people, 6 probably, to your house if you can, or to a private room in a restaurant if not. Make the meal simple but excellent. So in other words, if you're poring over the details of the meal, you're not poring over the relational interaction in the room, and then war game it. Who's sitting next to whom and why? Disallow free flow conversation. Make the conversation, it will feel stilted initially, but we're gonna deal with the question, we're gonna answer the question, we're gonna go around, we're gonna listen well to one another. We can have follow-up questions, but we're not going to have sidebar conversations, because this is a table where we're going to create a safe place to have dangerous conversations, and try it. And it will be 50% good first time, 75% good second time, and 100% great the third time. But persist with it. Once a month, invite your team, ask some, start off with some safe questions. Start off with kind of, what's your favorite childhood memory and why? Or, what's the greatest Christmas gift you were given and the worst? What's your walk-up song if you're a famous baseball player? Those kind of questions. And then before you know, you'll graduate to, what's the psychological game that you play in the office? What do you call it? And what do you get out of it? That's really gnarly. That'll take you to some deep places. Or what would you attempt if fear was not a factor in your life? What do people often encourage you to do that you've always backed off from doing? Just begin to explore, because you get to know people's lives and it will change actually their performance at work.
Yeah, love that. Very practical. Once a month, get a table together, war game, the seating chart. Don't worry about the food too much, and then come up with some really, really good questions.
Great wine.
And great wine. Yeah, it's key. That's key.
It's key, yeah.
Do we have time for one more?
I have no idea. Yeah.
I don't know either. Okay, well, I'm going to do it then.
Go.
I was thinking about the table. So we talk about leadership being spatial, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the table is unique in the sense that in the cave, the primary thing that we're doing is reflecting on who we are truly. Mm-hmm. And on the road, we are bravely seeking out our purpose.
Yes.
And the fire, we are reflecting on our day and curiously learning whatever it is that we have to learn. But it seems to me that uniquely at the table, while it's primarily about connection, all four things are happening. True, brave, kind, and curious are living at that table. Do you think that's true? Do you think all of those things kind of funnel in and around the table? And if so, just kind of, I don't know, reflect on that if I'm way off, or if there's some truth to that.
No, you're not way off. I mean, you could probably make an argument for any single one of those spaces being the most important space at different parts of your life. If you're not in the cave and you can't show up with integrity and authenticity as who you are, then give up with the rest of the stuff. If you're not reflecting at the end of the day, then you can never become truer, braver, and kinder. You just become true, brave, and kind. It's very static. The fire, I think, is the catalyzing factor that continues things. But I think the table is the relational space. It's the space where we become bigger than just the sum of our own parts. It's the space where we recognize that we weren't created just to be an island unto ourselves. We were created to connect, relate, rub off against, gain from, give to other people. And so it's the space that makes us bigger than ourselves. It's the space that we recognize the truth of team over individual. And it's probably the most vulnerable of all spaces, even though I probably would have said at other times the cave is the most vulnerable space. Because you're exposing yourself, you're taking a risk. Every question is a risk. Every giving of yourself, every response is a vulnerability. And we talk a lot, Michael, around the fact that trust is the currency of all teams. The table is a space where trust is built. Just the ability to be honest about things that are meaningful for us is the space where I grow in trust, and therefore when it comes to a piece of work that I'm doing with you, I can trust you better, I can give of myself more, I can share my most ridiculous idea that might actually end up being the best idea. I think you're right that if you can't do something that looks like or akin to the table, you can't be the relational leader that you desire to be, and you won't build the organization that you know you need, and you won't make the impact on the world that you want to have.
Love that. There's some good reason right there to host a table, to have a table, to jump in. I just heard yesterday or the day before somebody said new things are opportunities, not tests. And I think this is, if you're scared to set the table, look at it as an opportunity, not a test. This is not a pass-fail thing. Did I do it perfectly, or did I absolutely bomb it? It's an opportunity to begin relationships, to deepen relationships, to make connections, and therefore increase engagement in whatever organization, whatever team, whatever group, whatever family that you're leading.
That's perfect.
Love it.
Michael, thank you so much. It's, as always, great to talk, my friend.
It's great. Thank you.
You've been watching The Arable Leader with Karl Martin. Subscribe for more episodes with great leaders. And you can also listen to The Arable Leader wherever you get your podcasts. For more resources for leading in a healthy way, visit arableco.com and check out Karl's new book, The Cave, the Road, the Table, and the Fire.